think this situation absolutely requires a really futile and stupid gesture be done on somebody's part. We're just the guys to do it.
The fun has just begun.
And welcome to That Nerd Show 2.0. New and improved, but with a little bit of old school. But we are still nerdy. We're here. It's Sunday, and we've got 2 hours of action-packed fun for all of you nerds. I'm one of your hosts, Marcus Blake, and with me, as always, is Brendan.
What's up, nerds? It's Ethan.
Okay, so some of you out there might be wondering, what is That Nerd Show 2.0? Well, first of all, we should probably explain that no longer will we be doing shows during the week unless we're doing a special or doing interviews. But our main show will now be on Sundays from 5 to 7 p.m. So just about the time that you're getting over your hangover from the weekend, that'll be the perfect time to listen to That Nerd Show and have a little bit of nerd fun with us. Or as we like to call it, the greatest nerd party in this universe. And you can't prove that it's not, because you've never been to the other universes, unless you have one of those TARDIS. And if you do, you better be telling us about it, because we want to ride. But yeah, we decided to switch things around and kind of reinvigorate our show and pack everything into 2 hours once a week for you. So you'll get a lot of news all kind of bundled up at the end of the week between gaming and movies, TV, and stuff like that. More reviews about stuff. And then the latter part of the show, the second half, we'll be doing our theme shows, which, if you read the description of the very first show for That Nerd Show 2.0, we're going to be talking a little bit about the Mad Max movies and why we need more, and our favorite post-apocalyptic type of stories between movies and TV. So with that said, Brendan, are you excited about That Nerd Show 2.0?
Oh, yeah. You're going to ask on the co-host, am I excited? No,
Sweet.
I had to give up 2 hours on a Sunday because, I got nothing better else to do.
Yeah, I mean, Sundays are kind of a day of rest and getting over, like I said, your hangover. So why not be nerdy on Sunday?
Well, I am drinking water right now, but I figure by the time we get to the second half of the show, I'll break into the Jameson that's below the desk.
That's right, because we have a lot that's going on, and I'm sure a few drinks will be broken out before it's all said and done. So, without further ado, let's talk about what's happened in the nerd universe this past week in nerd news. Nerd news! And everybody, you should be you should be excited about nerd news, because there's a lot. Basically, this is how I think you should be when it comes to hearing what we think about the nerd news.
Lucky.
So, we're going to actually start with Marvel news. We had a big casting thing going on this week. Official casting. There's still too many damn rumors out there about who's going to be the next Spider-Man, and we're not going to get into that. We might have a segment about the rumor mill, but we're not doing that right now. We're actually going to do concrete news, confirmed. So, without further ado, let's get to it. Let's talk about the casting of the Punisher for the Daredevil series on Netflix. Brendan, take it away on this, because you've been all about the Punisher.
Yeah, I've been a Punisher fan since I was a little kid, and, hey, look, I was raised with cops and robbers and the Lone Ranger and all that types of stuff, so I don't need my superheroes to have, lasers coming out of their eyes, and, they don't need to be billionaires. They just need a couple of guns and the will to change things. And that's the Punisher. So he's pretty much a badass, and I've always loved him. And I really like the casting for the Punisher in Daredevil, because I think John Bernthal's really going to be able to bring it from a, an actual emotional and, intensity perspective. The other Punisher movies that are out there, and there have been 3 of them. You've got the Thomas Jane Punisher, which was probably the best of the bunch. You've got even though the villain in it was terrible, you've got the Ray Stevenson one, which was ultra violent but still had some really corny moments. like the guy who does the parkour flip and then gets shot out of midair with an RPG. I mean, really. And then you had the Dolph Lundgren, you know, sometimes I speak to God when I'm naked in a sewer moment. Okay, so, you know, they really haven't hit it out of the park with Punisher, and I think that's because, like, many comics, while some of them are built for spectacle, like the Avengers, and that's great for a movie, many comics are more of a story that you really have to dive deep into, and movies don't let you do that because you have to get everything in 2.5 hours. With a show like Daredevil, you know, we were obviously able to get inside Wilson Fisk's head. We were able to get inside Matt Murdock's head. You had a lot of character development, and that 10 hours of season really allowed you to delve deep into what drove those characters, and I really think the Punisher needs that type of treatment. And I'm hoping that the Punisher actually turns out to be one of the big bads for Daredevil season 2. That they're not going to be friends at first. Eventually, you know, maybe they'll get their mutual respect and work together on occasion, but I don't think it's going to be I don't think it's really going to be an easy meeting, because I think Frank Castle is going to remind Matt Murdock of what Matt Murdock could have become had Matt Murdock killed Wilson Fisk. So
right.
I think it's going to be a very awkward first couple of meetings, and I think by the end of the season they'll be allies. And I really think that the Punisher's tactics will end up getting someone that Matt Murdock cares about killed, and I think that will be the main source of the problem. And it won't be necessarily that Frank Castle killed one of his friends, but I could definitely see a situation where Frank Castle is having a shootout with Wilson Fisk or Wilson Fisk's goons, and someone very close to Matt, like say his Catholic priest, gets caught in the crossfire. I could easily see that happening.
I love this casting choice, but I do have one thing that I'm worried about, and that I want to point out. It's nothing against Jay's acting ability or anything like that, because I have loved him in pretty much everything that he has done. But if I have to deal with the Shane version from The Walking Dead, where it's in this really ridiculous Southern drawl and everything, then I'm not going to be happy.
No, I don't think they're going to do that with Frank Castle.
No, I know that I know that Frank Castle isn't. I know that he's not necessarily a Southerner, but it's just that, to me, that annoyed it, and it really made me hate. It really made me hate his character on The Walking Dead.
You were supposed to hate Shane, so it worked.
Yeah, well, again, but I just I couldn't do it.
Yeah,
but,
I don't think you're going to have Frank Castle, Southern Georgian gentleman. I don't think that's Frank Castle's not sitting mint juleps at the Kentucky Derby.
Well, that's true, but like I said, there's just there's roles that actors take on that just make you if you've liked them in the past, they're just really annoying and really grind into your teeth, and maybe that's the purpose of that particular role, but I've liked him in other things. He was great, displayed kind of a tough guy with a heart of gold type of thing in Grudge Match, and he really played well off of Sylvester Stallone and especially Robert De Niro. But here's another reason why I think this is going to be a great role for him. And why he's perfect for it. There's a movie that he did about 8 years ago it's a kind of an indie flick, and I don't think that there's a lot of people that know this movie. And it actually had Elijah Wood in it. It's one of the first movies that he kind of did. Day Zero, and what it was about three friends who grew up together who were faced with the military draft coming back, and they had 30 days to report for duty. And they're all questioning, everything basically like people did back when the draft existed and stuff. Anyway, he plays the gung-ho that this is our duty, I'm going. Also at the same time, his day job in real life is he's a cab driver, and he meets a beautiful woman, and he's willing to forego that because of his duty and stuff. But he also shows a lot of darker elements to his character. So if you can find this movie, it's called Day Zero. Check it out with him in it, and maybe you'll see why I think he'll actually be good for the Punisher. So I always like to pull out indie flicks that actors have done that are not that go unnoticed, but that
right.
truly display their acting ability. So, but no, this is a good casting choice. It'll be interesting to see what happens with the Punisher in this, but hopefully there will be a Punisher series, and you'll get kind of more of a different backstory and be able to do more. Nothing against Thomas Jane. I love Thomas Jane as the Punisher, but we've talked about it before. His Punisher movie, while it was okay, it could have been a lot better.
Yeah.
So
I just hope the one thing I'm hoping for in the show is that they don't go into Frank Castle's past. Like, we've already had 3 movies. Everybody knows what Frank Castle's past is. Just have him show up and be the full-on Punisher. And then once he gets his spin-off series, if you want to do flashbacks like they've done to great effect in Flash, Arrow, and indeed in Daredevil, then yeah, go ahead and do flashbacks and give us, a little bit more depth to him and how, he got to where he was on the show. But don't do another origin story. We just had Daredevil's origin. So let's get away from the origin and let's get into the meat.
I agree. But then again, I also liked origin stories too. So I mean, if it takes you one episode to kind of develop that with it, then whatever.
Just don't dwell on it.
Right. It doesn't. You're right. It doesn't need to be explained over and over and over. I mean, we just like Batman. We know what happens by now. Okay. So, all right. We do need to talk about this. We decided with a casting choice instead of this, something that we were excited about, but very, very sad news this week. We wanted to raise a glass to Christopher Lee, who passed away this week at the age of 93, who pretty much has done some great roles within the nerd universe. Despite the prequels not being very good, he was a great Count Dooku. Loved his lightsaber. You're supposed to hate Saruman, but he played that role perfectly in the Hobbit movies and Lord of the Rings. Yeah. He, despite The Man with the Golden Gun not being a very good James Bond movie,
he was a great villain.
I do. Yeah. I love Scaramanga as the villain. I mean, so it's Dracula, great friends with a lot of British actors like Alec Guinness and now it just completely slipped my mind on this show. Thank you. You know who I was going to for. But no, it's a sad day in the nerd universe, and I don't know if a lot of people realized he was 93. I mean, there's some other things people don't realize him too. I mean, the man was just a complete and utter badass. He was in the precursor to the British SAS during World War II. He drove a Jeep 60 miles an hour behind enemy lines in North Africa and used a belt-fed machine gun to tear up Luftwaffe airplanes and then tear ass out of there again before they could do anything about it. And at the age of 90, he recorded a metal album. He was 90. He was playing metal. You want to know why? Because he was like, I'm Christopher Lee. I'm 90 years old. I like metal. Fucking deal with it. That's why. Yeah. And that's just awesome. I'm sorry. I think there's just, with great actors like that, there's just, you get to a point where I am this good. I don't need to keep floating my ego like William Shatner. I just need to keep doing things because that's how good I am, and it's all going to be great, and I'm going to try my hand at anything that I want to do, even if it's just on a whip one day because I'm bored.
Most people, they say, when he died, he lived a full life. Not compared to Christopher Lee, you didn't.
No, not really. I mean, yeah. You know how you have those standards for a full life?
He fought Hitler and the Nazis. He recorded a metal album at 90. He was the man with the golden gun, Dracula, Saruman, and Count Dooku.
Right.
Nobody has got a resume like that. Nobody.
Right. I think it's absolutely fantastic, everything that he did. I mean, that's if you're lying on your deathbed wondering if you've done everything you feel like you could have done in life, I guess that's your standard, Christopher Lee. This is what I've done. So
he is now the measuring stick.
He is now the measuring stick. All right, so getting down to even more exciting news, we're going to jump to gaming news a little bit because E3 has started this week. So, Brendan, let us know about some of the big stuff from E3.
Okay, in advance of E3, some of the big announcements. Fallout 4 is coming to next-gen consoles and PC, and XCOM 2 will only be coming to PC, so those are some big game announcements. As far as the pre-E3 press conferences, where all the big announcements are generally made, Bethesda's is going to be tonight at 7 o'clock Pacific time, 9 o'clock Central, 10 o'clock Eastern. This will be the first Bethesda press conference ever. Expect them to go into details of Fallout 4, and also there is a rumor that they will be announcing Dishonored 2. And everybody really loved Dishonored, so hopefully we do get that tonight. Microsoft's press conference will be 9 a.m. Pacific tomorrow morning, 11 a.m. Central, and 12 a.m. Eastern Time, or 12 p.m. Eastern Time, I should say. So a lot of stuff coming from Xbox for the Microsoft press conference. EA is having theirs at 12:30 Pacific Time. Hope we'll get a lot about Star Wars Battlefront. Hopefully we get a sneak peek at what Amy Hennig and Visceral have cooking up for Star Wars, as well as your standard EA Sports lineup and a few other ones that people are waiting for. Ubisoft will be Monday, June 15th at 2:30 Pacific. So a lot of big stuff coming this year from Ubisoft. Tom Clancy's The Division, Tom Clancy Rainbow Six has got a new game coming out. Some other big stuff coming from Ubisoft as well. Sony's press conference is going to be Monday at 5:30 Pacific time. They got a lot of things coming up, like Uncharted 4 for the PS4. Nintendo is going to be 8:30 Pacific. They hopefully will get some news about Star Fox and maybe the next Link, or the next Zelda, but they said that they weren't, so who knows what they're going to do. Square Enix is having their first ever show. That's going to be June 16th at 10 a.m. Nintendo's June 16th at 8:30. It's not the 15th at 8:30 p.m. It's 8:30 a.m. the next morning on June 16th. Square Enix is at 10 a.m. Pacific time on the 16th, Tuesday. That's their first ever one. Expect a lot of information about the new Final Fantasy game, which does look amazing. Looks like a real kind of step forward for Final Fantasy, which has stagnated in the last few games. And then the first ever PC gaming show, which, PC gaming, people talk Microsoft, they talk Nintendo, they talk Sony PlayStation all the time, but most people don't realize is that the majority of video game sales are actually in the PC gaming market. Steam outsells just about everything else. So if you're a PC gamer like myself, your first ever PC gaming show is going to be June 16th at 5 p.m., and then E3 starts in earnest the following day. So that's the lineup coming up this week. I will be watching all of them. I will be making notes and putting together the big announcements. So if you can't watch it during the week and you some reason don't have access to the interwebs and you can't find out any of this information, then log on to us or listen to us on Sunday next week, and I will have a roundup for you.
Well, Sunday next week, the latter part of the show, we'll be talking about, it's basically a gaming show. So we are going to be covering E3, the things that we're looking forward to, what we've liked about past games, and doing all of that. So we will spend a good full hour, and it won't be such a one-sided conversation either, like last year. Hence why I've gotten back into gaming and played a lot more. So, but anyway, okay. So a little bit more kind of movie, TV news, just to keep you up to date with stuff. For all the Star Wars fans out there, They are wrapping up everything with the new music for Episode 7. From early reports, it looks like that John Williams, everybody's saying that he has topped himself with the music this time around. And that we'll get some very, very, great things. Also, for anybody that, after we see it in 6 months, because we officially have about 6 months and 4 days until it comes out, just remember, no matter how bad it might be or how bad you think it is, the music has always been great, because that was the bright shining moments of the prequels.
The prequels.
So,
yeah.
Yeah. So that's going on. Okay, so in case you didn't know, remember we did a show a year and a half ago called the All American Movies, after seeing Olympus Has Fallen, with a Scottish actor playing the lead.
Mm-hmm.
I like Gerard Butler, but like I said, a Scottish actor playing Secret Service agent saving the president in the White House. But anyway, so they did decide to make a sequel called London Has Fallen, and that was supposed to be out this year. Well, in case you didn't know, yes, there is a sequel called London Has Fallen. Basically, there's a terrorist attack at the G8 conference. Well, I guess at the time they were writing the movie, it's the G8 conference. I guess now it's the G7 conference. Damn Russians. But anyway. No. We don't hate the Russian people, but Putin, ugh. And we can say that about him because he's probably not a fan of our show anyway. But anyway, they're at the conference, terrorist attack happens, and of course he has to save the president and other world leaders in the city of London. Or basically, you could just watch the last series of 24 with Jack Bauer, where he basically saves the president. Yeah. Right. But anyway, that movie has moved to 2016, so we won't be doing an all-American action movie show part 2 until next year. But we do feel like if they're going to keep making these kinds of movies, oh yeah, we must do it, and we must talk about the greatest American heroes, not all G.I. Joes, in movies and TV. Anyway, so that's happening. Going right down. Okay. Yes, we are watching our time and going right down the list here for all the movies and stuff like that. Also, in case you did not know, it's been officially confirmed, but yes, Hugh Jackman will be doing Wolverine one more time for a Wolverine movie. But after that movie is done, he will be done with the role, and I guess that's the point where they start recasting for Wolverine. And I'm going to be honest with you. I mean, you have a guy play that role for pretty much 20 years. I can't really imagine anybody else playing Wolverine. And I don't know who they could really get to replace him. Do you?
Nah, I hope they go with an unknown just because, known people will come with too many baggage and too many comparisons to Hugh Jackman. So
yeah,
I just hope they go out. If I have one request, and it's a small pet peeve, but my only pet peeve about Hugh Jackman's Wolverine is, Hugh Jackman's what, 6'2", 6'3"?
Right.
Wolverine's supposed to be 5'4", 5'5". Can we get a short guy? Like at least get somebody like 5'10" or under.
You're never going to get that in Hollywood.
Well, I mean, they do it. Hey, they do it with Kiefer Sutherland on 24. They just don't hire anybody over 5'6" so that he looks like he's taller than everyone else.
Yeah, if it was realistic, it wouldn't be Hollywood. So
true enough.
But I understand where you're going with that. So there hasn't been a whole lot that's actually happened this week except E3. We will probably have more news for you about stuff. But we're gonna jump right into some other things. Before we get to reviews, one little bit of news item that definitely fits within our this week's Sign of the Apocalypse. And I know how excited you are because you're probably saying something like this.
Oh my holy crap.
That's right. Anyway, so this week's Sign of the Apocalypse is apparently it's not. We we can't just stop remaking other movies from the 80s and 90s now. You can't just stop at a few. You have to go right into even more beloved movies. And this week's remake that's in development, Kindergarten Cop. And now
Why?
I'm like, yeah, seriously. You know that movie was only funny because of Arnold.
Yeah, like there's, like, who are you gonna get? I mean, because there's another 6'4", 240-pound muscle-bound Mr. Olympia from Austria running around that can play the same role. What?
Look, the only way this even works is if you get Sacha Baron Cohen to play Borat as Kindergarten Cop, and then it's just creepy.
No, I don't. I wouldn't pay to see him in anything. Like, I don't get it. Like, who are they? Like honestly, who are they going to get to be the Kindergarten Cop? Like,
yeah, they're again that whole movie.
I mean, were they gonna have like Tom Hardy with the Bane mask? You know, what?
Every day is Halloween, and
I was born to it. I mean, come on.
It's not a tumor. You know what actually would be really good? There's a great series on There's a great series on YouTube called Chad Vader, Darth Vader's lesser,
brother,
successful. Yeah. Right. That's how you should get it. Chad Vader, Kindergarten Cop. I mean, that's just the.
I'm sorry. It's not often that I'm dumbfounded, but damn.
Right.
Oh.
We're going to take a call real quick and get a comment on this. Hey,
All
welcome
right.
to that Nerd Show 2.0. What's your name? Where are you from?
My name's Steven. I'm from Arizona.
Cool.
Hey, Steven, how you doing?
So, what do you think?
What
What
do
do
you
you
think
think about
guys?
them remaking Kindergarten Cop?
I'm not really sure how I feel about that. Like, the first one was good enough itself. Like, I don't feel the necessity to make another one, like a repeat, basically.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, we agree. There's
again,
really nothing more to say about that. I mean, it's Arnold was that movie. So how do you like rekindle that?
Okay. I don't know what that was. Yeah.
Apparently, ISIS
so
called
that
in,
was
so
our
there we go.
daily announcement from all the Hitler youth out there listening to our show. Thank you. Yeah. Every once in a while, we get these ridiculous calls from people that just want to shout obscenities on the radio. And while it's kind of funny, it's the only reason we appreciate you calling is that we get to make fun of you on the air. So, Stephen from Arizona, yeah, seek counseling. Seek counseling. That's all I could suggest. Or get back on your meds. So, what would even be more ironic at this point is if we had a psychologist call in who wanted to help Stephen from Arizona.
I just find it funny that a white kid from Arizona shouted Allahu Akbar. And my response to you is Aloha Snack Bar. Okay, moving on.
This is not really the show where I would expect calls like that. The old show I used to do, we would get those crazy people from time to time. So, but it is what it is. All right, so moving right along, this week's Son of the Apocalypse, yes. Actually, you know what? If Arnold comes back for the remake of Kindergarten Cop, like it's his son that he has with the other teacher, then then I think that would be good.
Actually, you know what? The only person I'd actually want back is the principal. I forget her name now, the actress's name now, but she's in everything. She plays Hetty Lang on NCIS Los Angeles currently. But just the little tiny principal who's like, who chastises him for hitting the abusive father and then says, "Now just tell me one thing. How did it feel to hit that son of a bitch?"
Right.
And Arnold is like, "Good. It felt good." So, yeah, that's the only character I'd want back. But I just don't feel the need to do it. So.
No, I mean there really isn't. But hey, we've seen stranger things happen. Or worse things. So, all right. So we're going to get to some reviews that we need to talk about this that happened this past week. Not only have we already seen the pilot to Supergirl, which we're going to tell you about and what we think so far. I'm sure we'll be talking more about it later on in the year, especially as we get closer to the fall premiere. But a new show that we've seen the pilot to, Mr. Robot, which is premiering on the USA channel here in about 2 weeks. Looks very promising. But the big movie that we get to review, Jurassic World, which it apparently has now become the first official movie to hit $500 million in the opening weekend. At least I saw that stat. It's on the internet, so it's got to be true, right? Anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, it was on comicsbook.com, and they're pretty reputable, so.
Yeah. I wouldn't doubt it. I just from all the stuff that I have seen, I mean, people going to, and I don't know of any other big movies that have really happened this past week. So, yeah, apparently everybody has kind of gone to see that. Okay, Jurassic World. Had a chance to see it, and all I can tell you is it's a lot of fun. Okay, I would not say it's the best movie summer blockbuster in the world or anything like that. I mean, at the end of the day, you're still just having genetically altered dinosaurs like King Kong going around, killing people, and then you're going to have to basically have a hunter who's going to have to like save the day. But that doesn't mean that doesn't mean at all that this isn't a great movie. I'm not trying to deter people from going to see it. Go see the movie. It is a lot of fun, especially if you do get to see it on the big screen. And great little continuation of the story, making us forget about some of the lesser-known crappy Jurassic Park movies, and I'm talking about 2, which really was just a King Kong movie with a dinosaur running around town. Anyway, I would honestly give this movie probably 8 out of 10. Okay, and the reason I give it 8 out of 10 is not from the great drama or anything, but just the spectacular visuals of everything. Does it make you feel like you're watching a CGI movie, kind of like, if you watched the original Jurassic Park now? It does, but was very, very entertaining. Chris Pratt did a fantastic job. He has really come into his own as a leading man. And him and Bryce Dallas Howard had a great chemistry on screen. A lot of fun and stuff. I do miss, really part of what made the original movie so fantastic was its cast. I mean, you get Richard Attenborough and Sam Neill and Jeff Goldblum and Samuel L. Jackson and all that into, a movie, then it's going to be great. And then again, how Richard Attenborough, and I apologize for mispronouncing his name, but just a phenomenal actor. I mean, right up there with Christopher Lee and everything, and has a lot from directing to acting. So to get him, especially with the lines, spared no expense. Yeah. It's hard to top that kind of a movie. But I think if you try to find a way to do it, then I applaud the efforts with Jurassic World, and to actually to be a continuation of the story where nobody looks at history and listens to the allegorical tale of this is what happens when you try to create life. It's basically Frankenstein's monster in dinosaurs, and then they take it one step further by inventing a T-Rex that's even scarier. Okay, and injecting it with other animals' DNA that makes it camouflage itself in the woods. It's kind of like, really, people? How is this?
Yeah, because that was necessary.
How is this not going to be a bad idea?
There will never be a world where we need to make T-Rex scarier. And then but a little interesting trivia about one of the stars, though, Bryce Dallas Howard. Of course, a lot of people know, maybe you don't, but her father is, a famous director, and Opie Cunningham, Ron Howard. Well, everybody's like, well, where'd she get the last name or the middle name Dallas from? Is it like family name or what? And it's no, it's just simply where Ron and his wife conceived her.
Right.
They were in Dallas for something, and well, that's where it happened. So that's
right.
So she was in Dallas when she became a twinkle in her daddy's eye. So.
Yeah. As I said, thoroughly enjoyed this movie. Vincent D'Onofrio, great as usual. As hey, we can tame the beast, and but then again, he's a little too much Paul Reiser from Aliens, where let's capture one and we're going to use it for war and study it. No, there's no reason to.
No, you kill it.
Yeah. But again, the fact that there's so many nods to the original movie, and with the updated technology, and I love Jake Johnson, who's like the little computer tech who, spent $150 on one of the original T-shirts on eBay. Don't you think that's a little bit of bad taste here? As Bryce Dallas Howard tells him in the movie. Well, maybe, but this is still an awesome shirt. But I thoroughly enjoyed it, and. Again, I would personally give it an 8 out of 10. Not the greatest blockbuster that's come out so far this year, but definitely worth watching. Go to the theater and stuff like that. Brendan, any thoughts on it?
I'm going to go see it. I haven't had the chance this weekend, so I will go see it. That's my thoughts. I have not seen anything to dissuade me from seeing it. So there you go.
Well, I'm giving it 8 out of 10 and stuff like that. However, I'm a little bit more. I look at some of this stuff as this is what's the word I'm looking for? I'm not as cynical about stuff as other people. Our book blogger Becca Stepanian went to go see it. We'll be writing a review on it in comparison with books and stuff like that. And she, for a 16-year-old blogger, she can be very harsh on stuff, and I'm very anxious to see what she would write about this movie. So we'll have that up for you here in a couple of days. But yeah, definitely go see it. I'm going to take a quick call and see what they think of Jurassic World. Hey, what's your name and where are you from? This is that
Steven from Arizona. Fuck off.
Okay. And the Hitler Youth called us back. All right. Well, see, you guys are getting a little normally we have drop-ins for this sort of thing. But we want to thank Steven from Arizona, and again, tell him you really should take your meds. It would be good for you. It might help. Anyway, moving right along. The Supergirl pilot, which if you're a nerd and you can find ways to download things, I'm sure you've already seen it. I don't know why CBS just isn't throwing it up on their on-demand right about now. But we did have a chance to watch it and stuff like that. Brendan, I know you are not excited about Supergirl, but have you watched it yet?
No, I haven't. I honestly, I've been so busy this week, and I just haven't really watched anything because, well, I'm finally working again. So yeah. But other than that, I can't bring myself to watch it until I hear other people talk about it because look, it's not even the actors I'm concerned with. You know, people are all bitching about, how it's James Wilson, not Jimmy Wilson, and he's an older black guy versus a young white kid. I don't even care about any of that. It just, the 6-minute, upfront trailer I saw, it did not fill me with confidence that it's a show that I would want to watch. So I just, I don't know, until I hear some better reviews about the writing and the direction, we'll have to see.
I will say this about it. I'm going to watch the series. I like the idea of having Supergirl, and I like the storyline. I don't feel like I'm giving away a big spoiler if I do this, or if I say this to our audience out there. But, it's the story is she left about the same time before Krypton was destroyed, but went through a time warp or wormhole or whatever, so the time was different, and by the time she finally arrived on Earth, Superman was grown and had already established himself as a superhero, but rescued her and put her with a foster family to grow up and all that. And it's about her, kind of stepping in out of his shadow and deciding to be Supergirl and stuff, but she has her own story in regards to saving people and dealing with, Krypton's destruction. So I like the idea of what they're doing, okay? But while I'm not trying to sound sexist, okay, Supergirl, to me, is not one of the strongest female superheroes that's out there, okay? I would take Wonder Woman over her any day. I think there are a lot of great female superheroes. I think there should be more, okay? But, it's like, here, I'm Superman, but this is my gawky cousin. She has all the same powers to her, but she's flying in a skirt, and it sounds like I'm, in a Mad Men episode talking about this, and I get that, and, again, I'm not trying to be sexist, but she's just not as interesting as
let's start off with
the
the
other
fact that
characters
Superman
are out
by
there.
himself. Superman by himself isn't that interesting of a character. I mean,
he is
basically
he's
a
just not
god
that
on
interesting
Earth.
to Brendan.
So, I don't care for Supergirl, not because of Supergirl. I don't care for Supergirl because I don't care for any invincible character that only has one weakness that always comes up on every single story.
Well, at least Smallville tried to have a clever way, like, hey, it's all meteor rocks and they're all around Smallville, so everywhere you turn, you can get sick. But don't use the red kryptonite because that's when you become a dick. Anyway, I like the idea that CBS is trying to get into, superhero TV shows, and that's great. But I'm going to have to see a lot more of Supergirl than just this pilot to really. The pilot alone hasn't grabbed me like other things. Like the Constantine pilot, that grabbed me, and I was hooked from day one. Loved every episode. Blah blah blah. And by the way, we do want to say this to NBC and everybody else. This is my thoughts on NBC when it came to Constantine, and the reason that they can't sell the show somewhere else and bring it back.
One of us has made a gross error.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a little pissed off that they didn't put Constantine somewhere else, that didn't get picked up. Maybe go to Sci-Fi and get changed to Hellblazer, or move over to the CW. But I'm a huge fan of Matt Ryan's job as Constantine. Maybe some of the scripts weren't the greatest, but he was awesome as John, and I was really pissed that they didn't give it a second season. I mean, Gotham got a second season. Constantine didn't. Come on. Gotham was terrible.
I know. But anyway, Supergirl, from the pilot standpoint, I give it a 6. I really do. But my biggest complaint with it, I'm sorry, I don't have a problem with Jimmy or James Olsen being black. I have a problem that you're trying to make him look like the star athlete on the Miami Heat. He's geeky. That's what he's supposed to be. So have a geeky black kid or black man be, Jimmy Olsen or whatever. I'm sorry. That's my major gripe with it.
They did that to pull in the female audience for CBS. I mean, that's
you know what? If you're trying to pull in the female audience with a guy looking like that, they're the Magic Mike people, and they don't need to be watching that show anywhere. Their IQ is just bringing the show down.
Same reason why one of the highest demographics for Criminal Minds is women 18 to 35 is because of Shamar Moore.
Let me take my shirt off and get all greasy.
I mean, he okay, so he's the black Matthew McConaughey, but that's okay. It'd be a good time to take off my shirt. Yeah, so
look at me.
So but I mean that's CBS has a lot of those viewers, and they're playing to their audience, and I knew they'd do stuff like that. And I mean that doesn't even bother me. It's just the fact that you're turning a superhero show into a romantic comedy.
Right. Well, it is what it is. Okay, so
and never mind.
Yeah, I give it a 6 we're definitely going to stick with the show to see how it develops, but that's where we're going to leave it. And but I do think everybody should check out the pilot when they get a chance. However, Mr. Robot, which is premiering on the 26th, that is a show that I think everybody should definitely check out. And relatively unknown actor Rami Malek, who basically plays, the Elliot, the main hacker dude. This show very much has kind of a Matrix feel to it, and the kid's probably a little bit crazy, but has kind of a heart of gold and stuff, and it's interesting. I also, in a lot of ways, had the same feel I did when I first started watching Orphan Black on the BBC. That there's a bigger conspiracy mystery and all that, and how everybody's connected and caught up in it. And I definitely I didn't get bored with the pilot at all, and can't wait, especially by the time they got to the end, and I can't wait to see what they do with it. My only concern is Christian Slater tends to be a show killer, and
yeah, he's had a few in a row that have tanked on him.
Yeah. Not that they've been bad shows. That one where he was the hitman who switched in and out of memory and they kept getting conflicted with one another, that was an interesting concept, and it shouldn't have been canceled. However, he does have that reputation, and if you're going to have him in it, then I don't have much hope for it. So, but I think the writing is solid. I think it's good. Pretty solid cast. Relatively unknown and stuff, but everybody did well with the chemistry and stuff in the pilot episode, and it definitely has a lot of potential. So that one,
I just got to say to USA, whoever did your website for the show, Rami Malek, the kid who plays the main character, should really hate you, because every single still of him, he looks so wide-eyed, like he's either just done an entire 8-ball of cocaine, or he just came out of the eye doctor's office. Because every single shot, he's his eyes are half the size of his head.
Look, I know he looks kind of weird and everything, but still.
But no, it's just the way that they're taking the pictures. It's and the stills are video stills, so it's they purposely stopped the still just when it would be the most embarrassing for this poor young guy. And I gotta admit, I'm sure there's some horribly, horribly unflattering still images of me you could produce off video, and I wouldn't want that done to me. So, damn, USA, hook a kid up, man.
Well, I don't have much hope for it. They did. The USA got into reality TV, and this whole Chrisley knows best. I was drunk one night, and I watched 10 minutes of it, and it's I couldn't. Yeah.
All right, so that's
but anyway,
sorry, I just had to bring that up.
No, that's okay. That's what we're here to tell. We're here to tell our fans straight. If something sucks, like your website, we're going to tell you. But Mr. Robot, just based off the pilot, I give it a good 9 out of 10. I think it's going to be great, and I hope it continues a long run, because USA has cranked out some good programming, things that have, been good over the years. I mean, you had Monk and White Collar, and things that have actually been able to have some staying power. Psych, whether or not everybody likes those things, that's fine if you don't. But I mean, they've been quality enough to where they've been able to stay on the air for a while. So we'll see how this one does. And if you like watching shows with the Firefly, with members of the Firefly castings that they've gone on to do outside of Firefly, Suits is a great one to check out too, because Tina Torres is great, and even though it's another lawyer show. But anyway, Mr. Robot, definitely check out the pilot if you can. I think it's up on demand with USA, and it's definitely turning out to be pretty good. Okay, so that's our reviews for right now. We'll have more of them for you next week. So we're going to get to a couple of other things. Now, did everybody realize that today is Flag Day? Yes. Better yet, does everybody even know what Flag Day is?
Yes.
Well, you do. But if you don't know what Flag Day is and you need a good quick answer, you can call into our show at 347-989-1732. And before we get to the rest of Flag Day, we do want to we want to hear from our fans. Okay, so tweet us at That Nerd Show or send us an email, news@thatnerdshow.com, or on Facebook or whatever. We want to hear from you. If you guys got questions, then, ask us, and we'll present it on the show. I did get a fan email from Deborah down in San Antonio, who did ask me why we never did a review on Jupiter Ascending a while back. And, Deborah, I'm going to give you the answer live on the air. Here's why we didn't. 2 words. Channing Tatum. That's all we needed to stay away from that. And it was kind of hard because the Wachowski siblings, did that movie, and it wasn't a terrible, terrible movie. It wasn't a good movie either. But we didn't really talk about it because, well, there you go. I know you're upset.
Dang.
Yeah, but it's Channing Tatum. We just can't bring ourselves to review movies that he's in. He just seems to ruin everything in the nerd universe for us. And if he does a Ghostbusters movie, well, we probably won't be talking about that either.
And he's already Gambit, which is just, ugh.
Yeah, we haven't quite
I need
decided.
Some Tums just thinking about that.
We haven't even decided how we're even going to do the next X-Men movie and how we're going to review it because, it's already on the fence for us because of this casting choice.
And I love it when people go, well, he's from the Bayou. He'll be perfect. I'm like, no, he's from Northwest Alabama. That's like saying somebody from Boston is a New Yorker. It just doesn't. No.
Also, while I understand that great actors have a wide range, like Tom Hanks could probably pretty much do anything, then you also need to realize that Channing Tatum has done Magic Mike movies. So, why would we ever? Yeah. How do we take you seriously in the nerd universe because of that?
He has no range. He quite literally is the female Kristen Stewart or the male Kristen Stewart. Maybe I said it right the first time. I don't know, but he's the male Kristen Stewart. He has like the same dumb facial expression the whole time. So no, I'm just I don't know. I gotta move on. I can't talk about this anymore. I'm so pissed that he's Gambit, and I don't want to discuss it.
Well, I hope that answers your question, Deborah from San Antonio, about why we haven't really got into reviewing that movie, and why we won't. We're not going to pretend to like something on the show for you. If it's bad, we're going to tell you it's bad. If we don't like someone because they ruin everything in our little universe, then we're going to tell you that. And we're not here trying to sell the movie to you and all that. If the movie and the studios and all that lose money and they don't like us telling the truth, well, get over it. We're going to tell the truth.
Make better movies.
We're not politicians here. We're not making up a story to get your vote and tell you what you want to hear. We're telling you what you need to hear. So, all right. Before we get to that, again, real quick about we're going to take a quick call real quick and stuff.
Let's see if it's somebody other than ISIS boy in Arizona.
That's right. Yeah, please, no Hitler Youth around here, okay? I'm just saying. I'm not, yeah. All right, welcome to that Nerd Show 2.0. What's your name? Where are you from?
My name is Jason the Action, calling from Dallas.
Cool.
What can we do? How you doing, Jason?
Hey, I had to call in. Tatum Channing, whatever his name is, the Kristen Stewart male version. That was beautiful. That was perfect.
You're welcome.
Actually, we should have made that comparison. Actually.
No, I'm with you. He ruins everything. I'm a big G.I. Joe fan, and he was the worst part about both G.I. Well, actually, it was good he died in the second one. That could have happened in the first one.
Did you cheer when that happened? I cheered when that happened.
I did, yeah.
I kind of a little bit, and just kind of got some strange looks in the theater, and I was just like, hey, at least there's snake eyes in this movie.
Yeah, I was sad that Duke died. I was not sad that Channing Tatum was no longer in the movie. Does that make sense?
As an ex-military man as well, I was like, can you shave that caterpillar off of your chin, please?
Yeah.
Look, if you're going to do special forces and grow a beard, if you're going to grow the tactical beard, go full-on tactical beard, man. Don't do that little rat stash thing that he had going.
Oh, no, he was in dress uniform with that friggin' whatever that is.
Thing.
Gambit has stubble. How's he going to manage
guys,
stubble? He can't even make stubble.
Hey, and you know what?
SF guys go full-on beard, but damn.
You know what makes the original G.I. Joe figures so fantastic is the fact that they were actually proper military, looking figures. Okay? Goatees,
Shipwreck had the full beard, but it was allowed
exactly.
at that time.
Yeah, well,
exactly.
Shipwreck. Yeah, Shipwreck had that too, but so anyway, look, I don't know. And hey, speaking as the Navy guy here, all right, we've had 2 G.I. Joe movies and no Shipwreck. Are you kidding me?
I'm with you. They got to get around somehow.
They got to give me Shipwreck if they do a third one. If they don't, I'm not going to see it. I'm doing it right now. # no Shipwreck, no movie.
This is why we tell the truth. This is why we tell the truth on our show. Okay, we're the fans. We're the people you should be reaching out to. And if you piss us off, just saying. All right, Jason, we got to move along, but thank you very much for calling in. Keep listening to that Nerd Show 2.0.
Oh,
have a good day.
Admiral Akbar.
Aloha snack bar. Okay.
Oh, man. Yeah, it's nice to not get a call from the Hitler Youth out there. I just want to keep saying Hitler Youth, so anytime I can chime in. I'm not really getting paid to say it, but anyway. All right, so moving right along to Flag Day. We want to hear from you at That Nerd Show on Twitter, and if there is a nerd flag out there, something really cool, like a Star Wars nerd flag, something like that you think is the best and you want to fly up on our Twitter account, then you should definitely send that to us. We wanted to talk about that a little bit and and stuff. Speaking of flags, though, we are fans of pirates around here, and I was trying to think before the show if there was anything really, really, truly more menacing than, the pirate flag, and I can't think of anything. Can you?
Well, I mean, not from historical research. Maybe, I don't know, from a historical point of view, maybe. Well, I don't know. Maybe if the color, the majority of the people in your country are not white, then maybe the Union Jack.
Okay. Well,
might be
true.
pretty. You see the Brits coming and people go, whoa, what are we doing here? I mean, just ask half of Africa in the country of India how that worked out.
Right.
So, I guess but I mean, as far as from our perspective as white Europeans, then the pirate flag is always we were raised with it, and of course not everybody had the same Jolly Roger that we were brought up to believe everybody had, but they all had their own different pirate flag, their own different skull and crossbones or whatever the hell it was. So yeah, I mean that's as far as from a historical point of view, at least from our perspective, then yes, the pirate flag is pretty menacing. Although in the days after Pearl Harbor, I'm sure the Japanese Rising Sun flag was very menacing too. And there's a reason why they don't use the sunburst flag anymore with the Japanese. So
right.
They just use the sun in the middle of the white field. So
well. Flag Day is an interesting time to kind of look at, especially during war and flying, your banners and stuff like that, and how well it's used in what I call, nerd media, so to speak.
Sure.
I love the Assassin's Creed pirate flag, the logo with the little pirate's crossbone and all that within that logo, and I think that's, great on a T-shirt. But one of my favorite shows that I've had over the last couple of years is Black Sails on the Stars Channel. Okay, it's
Sure.
it's basically Spartacus, Blood and Sand, but for pirates. And phenomenal cast, been great. I mean, they really topped themselves at the season 2, and they're for anybody that doesn't, if you can't think of anything Toby Stevens has ever really done before that show, he was the bad guy in Die Another Day, the James Bond movie that sucked. The one with the invisible car. But he's a phenomenal actor. And there's an episode where they can't be merciful. They can't show mercy to a crew. They have to sink a ship and all of that and kill everybody. And he explains to the captain that he just deposed that it's the reputation. If we don't do this, nobody fears that flag. Okay, and that's the only reason we can do what we do on the high seas. Okay, but look, as I said, from a nerd perspective and stuff that we watch and read about, I mean, to me, the pirate flag is probably still the most menacing and recognizable. And Long John Silver's as a restaurant can, make light of it, like, haha, it's funny in marketing and blah, 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 but, really put the history behind it.
You got the Nazi flag, too. I mean, the swastika on the red field with the black stripes, that says a lot as well. And I mean, there's some other ones out there too. Hell, if you're a kid in the 80s, in the 70s, or even the 60s and 50s, the communist Soviet flag.
Right.
So
well,
I mean, different flags are different things to different people. But I guess, I mean, from your point, I get what you're saying though, that just everybody was raised to be, pirates were evil and bad guys, and doing bad things.
All right, so we're about halfway through, and we are going to take a quick station break. So if you need to run to the restroom, grab another beer, kind of like what I'm about to do, then...
Yeah, what we're going to do?
Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. Then we're going to come back and talk a little bit more about some things. All right, so we'll be back in a little bit. You get to listen to commercials.
What's the difference between success and failure in business? It's the moment you decide to go pro. And it's also when you finally decide that you don't have to shop with amateurs anymore. When it comes to your printing, web and graphic design, and advertising, the Business Pro Shop will get the job done right, because that's what it means to go pro. Shouldn't you let professionals work for you? Call 888-901-4665 to go pro today, and start with 500 free business cards on your first order.
All right, so you're going to hear a lot more ads throughout our show, and we want to tell our audience out there, how can you advertise with That Nerd Show? Well, it's very easy. You can do it for as low as $25 a month and reach thousands of readers on our website, between banners and online billboards, and you should definitely give us a call to find out how you can get yourself a free radio ad and get played to all of our listeners out there. Our prices are very reasonable. The most reasonable and best package you could buy is what I like to call our All-Star package, where $99 a month and gets you a combination of radio ads, banners, and billboard ads on our website, and you get listed as a sponsor for the show. So you got something that you want to showcase to the nerd universe, and just remember, nerds come in all shapes and sizes. And we like many different things. And if you've got business services or any kind of services, we still need accountants, mechanics, repair guys, install all that. So we have a very affordable advertising on this show, and you should definitely give us a call at our parent company, 888-901-4665. Or if you'd like to inquire more about advertising through That Nerd Show, you can always email us at news@thatnerdshow.com. There is an advertising link on our website, which will give you 4 different packages that you can buy. And then that's about it. So you want to really reach a wide audience and stuff, advertise with That Nerd Show. We would love to be able to promote what you're doing. So, all right, we're going to run one more quick ad for you, and we'll be back here in about 30 seconds, and then we're going to talk about some other things.
Just because you have a business doesn't mean you have the roadmap to success. In fact, 80% of businesses will fail. But there is one important thing you can do to help ensure that your business is not one of them. Go pro. For all of your printing needs, your web and graphic design, and your advertising, there is only one place to shop, the Business Pro Shop. Go pro with your business today and start with 500 free business cards with your first order. Call 888-901-4665 to go pro.
All right, and we are back. So one of the sponsors that we have, and we'd love to promote this, is Warrior Point, and I'm going to turn it over to Brendan to tell you guys a little bit about Warrior Point. And if you're a veteran out there, like Jason who called into our show, this is an organization you definitely need to get involved in. It does a lot of good, and that's where I'm going to leave it because Brendan can tell you more than I can. Take it away, buddy.
Okay. So Warrior Point is basically an alternative to the Veteran of Foreign Wars or an American Legion, and with all due respect to those organizations, because they are fantastic organizations, we have two major differences. With the Veteran of Foreign Wars or the American Legion, you had to serve in a certain time or a certain place. Veteran of Foreign Wars, you had to serve in a foreign war. American Legion, you had to serve during a time of war. And while they've had open enrollment from 1991 forward since the Persian Gulf, if you served from, say, 1984 to 88, there's nobody you can join. So we wanted an organization for all veterans. Secondly, unlike those organizations, we do not charge annual dues. We believe that if you served, you paid your dues. And our big focus is on suicide prevention. 23 veterans commit suicide in this country every day, and we believe it's our responsibility to take care of our fellow brothers and sisters and make sure that doesn't happen. So whether you're male veteran, female veteran, it does not matter. We are not a fraternal order. We more than welcome the women. The Dallas chapter CEO is a woman. So get all our sister DVs in here, our brother DVs, and let's take care of each other and help each other out. Our job is to protect each other so that we don't ever get to the point where people are feeling they need to commit suicide, and if they do, then we work with another organization that's another great organization called Battle in Distress. So if you have any questions about it, go to warriorpoint.org. It's point spelled with an E on the end, so warriorpoint.org. Check it out. Whatever brigade you're in, join. Tell them I sent you. I'm the Texas State Commander. Or if you have any questions, you can just tweet at me directly at NerdShowSmitty.
All right. Yes. Most of us with the show are veterans at some point in form, and definitely Warrior Point, great organization. And we will keep telling you about it until more members come along. All right, so one of the new things that we are doing with That Nerd Show 2.0 is we want to feature cosplayers. Now, we encounter cosplayers at conventions pretty much anywhere we go where there's nerds. And the culture has grown by leaps and bounds so much over the years. For anybody that has a big imagination and, still likes to play dress up, and let's face it, we all do to a point, okay? There's nothing immature about it. But there's a lot of seriousness that goes with cosplay. And, excuse me, everybody, just the level of detail that people put into their costumes and everything that they do when they're part of an organization that, gives a lot to charity. So a lot of good, comes about with it. It isn't just, hey, let's dress up and go to a convention and hang out. I mean, again, there's a lot of good that comes with it. And we're going to be telling you a lot more about these organizations on our show. So, without further ado, That Nerd Show 2.0 would like to feature this week's cosplayer. And his name is Austin Dennison, who is the head of the Mandalorian Mercs, which is kind of an offshoot of the Star Garrison 501st group. You basically have three groups together, the Star Garrison 501st and Mandalorian Mercs and the Rebel Alliance. But he heads up the Mandalorian Mercs, and we had a chance to meet him and his group a couple months ago at AllCon and actually interview them for our documentary, Jedis from Dallas. But we wanted to talk about Austin and everything that he does for charity through the Mandalorian Mercs, and just how now if you don't realize who the Mandalorians are, you're not that nerdy. They're Boba Fett, okay. And as he told me at AllCon, you want to call them first to get somebody instead of stormtroopers because they never miss. So I don't know if stormtroopers always agree with that, but I thought that was kind of funny. Anyway, you should talk to, if you are interested in knowing more about the Mandalorian Mercs and putting together a costume, and you really, for all you Fett fans out there, you should definitely get in touch with him. Look up Mandalorian Mercs, and you can also find out more about their group through the Star Garrison 501st chapter here in the Texas, Arkansas, Oklahoma area and stuff. But he is our cosplayer of the week, and we are glad to be friends with him. And him and his group, I got to tell you, very, very impressive with their costumes. So moving right along, getting to our particular theme today of what we're talking about. Now, some of you might be wondering why we didn't really get a review on the Mad Max movie, and it's been basically a month since it came out. We did kind of miss that one in crossing over to That Nerd Show 2.0 and stuff, but we're going to do it now, and we're going to talk about why we need more Mad Max movies. All I can tell you after watching, well, really the most important thing I can tell you after watching Mad Max Fury Road is forget the continuity, forget anything you've seen in the past. This is just one hell of an action-packed 2-hour car chase that is pure fucking awesome. Okay? I don't even know if there really is much of a story except it's post-apocalyptic, Australia, and we still don't really know what happened and how the Earth ended up that way. I think they tried to explain it at the beginning of The Road Warrior with this great prologue, didn't they?
Yeah, they did, but it didn't really matter.
No. All you know is the world has turned to shit, people are scavenging along the road, living in the desert, and, gas is the new currency, and by the way, it's either killed or be killed. It's very Darwin. When I heard that they were coming out with a new Mad Max movie, I like everybody, I thought they were just going to be rebooting it because it had been 30 years. And then I heard, oh, no, it's a continuation. I'm like, what? What do you mean it's a continuation? What are you going to do? What are you continuing? Because Mad Max, if you get Mel Gibson to play do the role 30 years later, he's like an old guy. And he was pretty old at the end of Thunderdome to begin with. And then they were like, well, it's not really a continuation. It's somewhere in the mix of the storyline. Then that's why I say don't do anything about the continuity. Don't worry about the continuity. To be quite honest with you, I don't even know where it fits into the continuity at this point. Is it before the Road Warrior? Is it after? Did he find a new interceptor? I don't know. And I don't think it really matters.
Yeah, I was going to say.
There was no, it doesn't matter at all what this is. And then of course, there was talk about actually getting Mel Gibson back to play Mad Max about 10 years ago when this whole thing first came about. And then, things happened and, Mel Gibson went crazy. So he couldn't really do that anymore. But then again, I think that kind of would have fit with Mad Max and dystopia Australia in the desert. I don't know.
The heat got to him. What can you say?
Yeah, exactly. You have plenty of excuses and stuff. But anyway, so they get Tom Hardy to be the new Mad Max. What do you think of Tom Hardy as Mad Max?
It was, let's put it this way, it's the best movie I've seen with him in a car. Because we went
you
to see the other
still
movie
love
with
to
him
rag about Locke, don't you?
It's not that I don't know. Actually, Locke was a pretty good movie, but I do enjoy ragging on it. But yeah, it's just look. No, I think he's a good Max. Like you said, it was a lot of fun. It was an awesome movie. I don't think there's no real in-depth message here. There's no underlying story. It was cool that for once we got a badass female character who didn't need to be saved. I really love Charlize Theron's character, but because I really hated what they did to Felicity this year on Arrow, because she used to be just that cool nerdy girl that would always have the right answer, and then they turned her into a waterworks for an entire season, and it was just like, damn it, Felicity, go back to season 2. So
but
you know,
she
I
was
really
torn
enjoyed
between
Charlie's,
two men.
and I don't. It's just like, really, are you kidding me? You know, and well, 3 men if you throw Barry Allen in there. But anyway, back to Mad Max.
True.
But yeah, so I mean, the whole reason why she liked the Atom was because he was the geekiness of Barry Allen with the body of Oliver Queen, which was just frightening in and of itself. And so, you know, but Charlize Theron did an awesome job in this movie, and she always does. I mean, she gained 40 pounds and became ugly and a serial killer so she could win an Oscar. And by the way, that's dedication. So, you know, Charlize Theron was great in this movie, and, you know, it was just a lot of fun. I mean, it was explosion. It's, hey, Michael Bay, this is how you do explosions.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
All right? Don't try to throw a stupid love story that nobody cares about in there, Pearl Harbor. Just have the explosions, okay? If you're going to go explosions, go explosions. So, I just think it was a lot of fun.
I love the fact that they got the guy who played Toe Cutter from the original Mad Max movie to be in this one, and he's Immortal Joe or something. I mean, again,
right?
It doesn't matter who you played before or whatever, but I guess, you know, when you're dealing with post-apocalyptic movies, you've got to develop some kind of cult, make people believe in something, no matter how crazy it is, and you know, tell people, but if you do this, you'll go to Valhalla. So, and let me, without Googling it, what is Valhalla? Sounds very familiar. Am I forgetting a story where
Valhalla?
that's mentioned?
Valhalla is the Norse heaven. So Norse, you know, the Norse gods, Loki, Odin.
Well, now I've really
Thor,
pissed off my.
It's warrior heaven. That's Valhalla.
Well, I've definitely pissed off my Scandinavian ancestors then by not remembering that. So, because I'm Danish and Irish on my father's side, and oops. Well, can I just run with the excuse that I'm drinking during our show?
Yes, that always works.
That's what I'm going to go with. I mean, I liked how they, again, you bring mythology back into it, and like, if you do good, you're going to go to this place, and blah 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 blah. And Nicholas, what's his face, Holt or whatever, who, you know, plays Beast in the latest X-Men movies. I mean, he was great and funny. I mean, really, just what a lovely day, what a lovely day. I mean, just this movie is not about trying to think too much or read too much into it. All it is, hi, I'm Max. I'm going to escape, and I'm going to try to help these people, but I'm going to grunt a lot and not talk. Okay, but when I do, I'm usually going to kill someone.
I am Max. I'm here. I'm going to go there. If you get between me and there, I'm going to shoot you.
Right.
That's kind of how it all breaks down.
So, you know, I definitely love the look of it. You know, it's not a great drama or anything like that. I definitely give it a 7 out of 10. Thoroughly loved it. You know, for it being action-packed and stuff, but that's all it is. So, here's my big question: why do we need movies like this? I mean, if it really is, you're just going to do a car chase and, you know, you're going to kill people on a desert road and everything. I mean, is there really a reason that we need these movies?
Yeah, catharsis. Because for 5 days a week, most of us have to go into a cubicle farm and do menial tasks for some stupid corporation that none of us care about. We have no passion for what we're doing. We're just there because we're collecting a paycheck so we can pay our rent on our overpriced tiny box of an apartment and hopefully have some money left over to get drunk. And since we can't actually kill people, we get online and play video games, or we put on a movie and watch people shoot things.
I will admit that that's part of it, because there are days that I have to put on a first-person shooter game and just, you know, kill bad guys.
Yeah.
Just because.
It's cathartic.
Yeah.
You know, people out there say violent movies cause violence. Bullshit. If it wasn't for violent movies and violent video games, this world would be a hell of a lot more violent than it already is. Because the rest of us regular people who don't go out and kill people don't do so because we have these cathartic things to take our minds off the people we actually want to kill on a daily basis.
Well, the only thing that I do complain about with, Fury Road is, to me, in a lot of ways, it was just a rehash of the Road Warrior. He's all about his own. It's everything except having a dog.
But that's very much a Hollywood problem. It's just the reboot syndrome, which we talked about earlier in the first segment with Kindergarten Cop. And, come on, they rebooted the Pink Panther with Steve Martin. Now, I love Steve Martin. He did it great in Saturday Night Live. He's fantastic on a banjo, believe it or not. The guy's won Grammys. I'm telling you, bluegrass music on a banjo, Steve Martin. I don't know. It's weird, but it works. But he's not Peter Sellers, and he's never going to be Peter Sellers, and there probably never will be another Peter Sellers because he was that unique. And to remake the Pink Panther movies with anybody, didn't matter if it was Steve Martin, it could have been anybody, any comedian or comedic actor, and the movies were going to fail because it's not Peter Sellers. So stop doing these remakes. It's, the fact that it was pretty much a rehash of Fury Road or of Road Warrior, that, maybe we should just start calling them Fury Road Warrior. It just, it's not Fury Road's fault. It's a symptom of a disease that's infesting Greater Hollywood. We've run out of ideas, so we're just rehashing the same old shit, and we're not even trying to pretend another great point you made earlier was that Jurassic Park is just another way of telling the allegorical tale of Frankenstein. Well, it's Frankenstein's monster, but instead of doing that, Hollywood has become so lazy that instead of coming up with a new way to tell the same story, they just keep fucking telling the same story.
Right. And having nods to the original movies that made that franchise famous, that's fine. I already know that there's going to be a great many nods to the original Star Wars film with Episode 7. Some that may take away from its individual story, and that's okay. But at the same time, you have to be unique enough in the sense that it makes people want to watch this again. Well, okay. Good example. Superman Returns. All right. I don't give somebody $200 million to make a fucking fan film and say this is why I love Superman. I'm not to
make a Superman movie where he doesn't throw a single punch.
Right. For God's sake.
$200 million. He didn't throw a single punch. Not one.
You pretty much
I'd have given him five.
You pretty much used language from the old movies just to make you not like
$5 to see Brandon Root punch somebody. Like, dude, all right, you had $200 million, you did all this shit, now here's an extra $5. Brandon, go clock somebody. Hey, while you're at it, Kel Penn's still on the set, knock him out. Okay?
Right. It's, hi, I'm Lex Luthor. My diabolical plan is to find some kryptonite, and we're going to go back to Superman's home. Have you been here before, Lex?
Kevin Spacey laugh.
Right.
It's like, so yeah,
fine.
No, it's
pay homage to the original movie, but show some kind of continuation of the story. I like this in Mad Max, where yes, here's a new group of people that I sort of have to rescue before I disappear off into the sunset. Okay. But it's going to be pregnant women who are basically going to help continue civilization as we try to rebuild. All right, that's fantastic. And the fact that all of them were hot, even better. Okay. Then again, I was a little slightly turned down by Charlize Theron, bald-headed with weird makeup over her eyes and stuff. But I think she's a beautiful woman no matter what. But again, you're just not getting. It's the Road Warrior in so many ways, and that's great. But so
we just need Star Wars to come up with new ways to tell the same old stories. That's all. We need Hollywood to go back to coming up with new allegorical tales. You know, Jurassic Park was a great example of that, and you know, there's so many other things that could be done, but they don't. So let's hope we get some more talented people in Hollywood instead of the same people churning out the same old crap. Anyway.
Well, now here's my question about what are we going to do with the other Mad Max movies? Because, I mean, there's 2 more that are coming. They want to, well, it's not necessarily a reboot. They're trying to, you know, they're going to be making more. So is it Mad Max, a loner who somehow kind of finds love and, you know, for somebody other than himself to help people? Because that's what all the Mad Max movies are. I mean... So the Road Warrior was saving a civilization that needed to get gas away and try to rebuild and all of that. And then Thunderdome was, I'm going to go save these kids who think I'm Captain Waka, which Thunderdome's actually my favorite out of the trilogy, just because I love the kids. Like, we kept it true, Captain Waka, and it's like a pamphlet for an airline about in-flight safety.
Well, I mean, they were the Lost Boys. They were that was Peter Pan,
right?
You know, I mean, essentially. So, I have
true.
no idea. Honestly, can we just have it to where one of the movies he actually makes it to like some oasis that actually is a nice place to live?
Yeah, but then again, if you're going to rehash things, he's going to have to be the loner that can't live in a normal society, like Kevin Costner in Waterworld, and I can't stay on dry land. I must be at sea and leave these people that love me. I mean,
do we have to rehash anything from Waterworld ever? I don't think so. I think that was enough. That was 5 seconds you spent on it. Let's move on.
I didn't think Waterworld was that bad of a movie. I really didn't. Okay?
Okay. Well, you're entitled to your opinion, no matter how incorrect it is.
I mean, how many movies do we get to see? I mean, it was different. How many movies before then were... The Earth is covered in water. I mean, now it's like a big global warming infomercial, but, you know, back then. So I think a lot of people, what they complained about is, well, he's basically just trying to be Robin Hood on the water, you know, with a heart of gold, and the little girl melts his heart and blah, 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 blah. But
yeah.
Dennis Hopper was great in it.
Okay. You're not changing my mind on this one, man.
Okay.
I hated that movie.
Well, it was a big flop and everything.
I'm a Navy guy and I hated that movie. That should tell you something. If a movie spends 2 hours on the water and I hate it, there's probably a good reason for it.
So, out of the Mad Max movies, do you have a particular favorite yourself?
I actually will agree with you on this one. I like Thunderdome too. I like the kids. I was a big fan of it. So,
well, the other reason I think Thunderdome is so fantastic is Tina Turner. I mean, you know, you always want to take her side because she got beat up by Ike Turner all the bad, and you know, she's a great, fabulous singer, smoking hot legs and stuff like that. But she was pretty bad. I mean, she just you wanted her to die in Thunderdome.
Well, yeah, she did a good job. She did a good job being a villain, you know. And there's nothing wrong with that. You know, I was talking with some people the other day just about, you know, and this is not really nerd related, but it's a good analogy. Just from a sports point of view, you know, there's a big scientific report coming out that the Patriots probably didn't cheat. Oh, how about that? And so, but everybody's like, why isn't anybody talking about it? Because it doesn't matter. Because the NFL has a narrative, and people would rather be told a story than read the truth. And the narrative is that the Patriots are the bad guys. And like in any good story, you have to have great villains. Lord of the Rings had Saruman and Sauron, Darth Vader and Emperor Palpatine in Star Wars. And in the NFL, we have Brady and Belichick. And as Pats fans, I tell my fellow Pats fans we should embrace this and take the word of Captain Malcolm Reynolds and say, shiny, let's be bad guys. So, you know, you have to have a great bad guy and a great story. So, you know, she did a very good job. Like, everybody goes, you know, there's 2 types of performances as a villain. There's the villain you love to hate, and then there's the villain you just hate being there. And if you hate seeing them on screen and you just want them to go away, for me that was in wrestling CM Punk. when he first came on, that was kind of to the tail end of me watching wrestling. I hated him when he was first there, and I just thought he was annoying. I thought he was a no-talent-ass clown, and I was just like, just get off the screen. I actually changed the channel. He was so bad, I changed the channel. It's about the time like I said, stopped watching wrestling. So to me, that's a bad villain. You didn't make me hate you. I just was apathetic towards you to the point that I didn't even want to see you, so I just left.
I just
Triple
like
H,
the
on
fact
the other
that
hand, was...
I like
Go
the
ahead.
fact that you were able to work in the Patriots not being cheaters into a nerd show, and that how they're looked at as bad guys, which clearly you're wrong on that, because if there's going to be any bad guys in the NFL, okay, there has to be a bad guy. It's clearly the Green Bay Packers. I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, that's just because you're a Bears fan, but like 90% of the NFL hates the Patriots, but that's okay.
Well, they hate the winners.
Shiny, let's be bad guys. Anyway, so but with Triple H, with Hunter Hearst Helmsley, he's a phenomenal villain because I always wanted to see what he was going to do next. I always wanted to see how he was going to screw over the good guy. I always wanted to see how the good guy was going to overcome that. That's a good villain. That's a villain you'll love to hate. Darth Vader is a villain you'll love to hate. And the Emperor is a villain you'll love to hate. These are great villains, and you need a great villain. And Tina Turner did a good job. She really did.
Right.
And probably because she had a big villain in her life. She knew how to portray it.
Right. Okay, we're going to take a quick break real quick so you get to hear some more ads, or the same ad, however you look at it. And we'll be back talking about our favorite post-apocalyptic TV shows and movies. Which one is better? Obviously not Waterworld. But we do want to hear from you, 347-989-1732. If you'd like to comment and tell us your favorite Mad Max movie and why, feel free to call in. We'd love to hear from you. Okay, we'll be right back.
Just because you have a business doesn't mean you have the roadmap to success. In fact, 80% of businesses will fail. But there is one important thing you can do to help ensure that your business is not one of them. Go Pro. For all of your printing needs, your web and graphic design, and your advertising, there is only one place to shop, the Business Pro Shop. Go Pro with your business today and start with 500 free business cards with your first order. Call 888-901-4665 to Go Pro.
All right, and we're back. Okay, so talking about post-apocalyptic movies and TV shows and, how the world ends. I've never seen a happy movie where, we finally made it, it's all peaceful, and we've ended world hunger and all that. No, because that would be boring. So it's all got to turn to shit, whether the world is covered up by water or there's zombies trying to kill everybody, whatever the case may be. So, again, we kind of wanted to look at...
We're the human race. It is all going to end up like shit.
That's right. We're going to fuck it up somehow. Yeah, I mean...
It's just a question of how and when.
You know why the Earth is going to get fucked up? Because there's a lot of...
This guy's a big-time asshole.
Yeah, there's a lot of those guys.
You're talking about the race that invented the way to destroy itself fast. No other race of creatures on Earth has ever invented a way to ensure its own destruction, except
making us watch Twilight movies over and over.
No, inventing the atomic bomb.
Oh well. I don't
know. Come on, the United States has 4,000 nuclear warheads. I mean, look, I'm a military guy. I love things that go boom, but 4,000 nuclear warheads. Like 12 is enough to make the whole world uninhabitable. So what the fuck?
I was originally artillery in the Army, and, I love fighting a war where I sit back and just fire big rockets at you and blow you up. It's awesome. But anyway, so top post-apocalyptic things that you should watch. And I was thinking about this list before the show. Mad Max is really the only thing in Australia that I can think of. I mean, I think there's some independent films that are out there I've seen, that have caught my peak on Netflix, but I can't remember the names of them, and I'd have to go back and look, after it and stuff. The Walking Dead is probably the most popular because it's still on TV, and now we're getting a spin-off, Fear the Walking Dead, with a little bit of the backstory about the virus that happened. And I definitely think it's up there, and we will be talking more about The Walking Dead and doing shows about The Walking Dead as we approach to the new show. But there was one show that I still think captures exactly how to survive in a post-apocalyptic world, and really just, in a world gone mad and trying to reshape the world, and of course people screwing it all up over again. And this is something that I think everybody should stream on Netflix. Jericho. I want to talk about Jericho because we don't get we don't get enough. We haven't talked enough about Jericho on this show. We've mentioned it. We've talked about the story of how they got the show back for a second season after CBS. Hey, nobody watches this show. Let's cancel it. At the big cliffhanger.
And 2 tons of peanuts later. Stop sending us nuts. We'll put the show back on the air.
Well, here are some things that we have learned from Jericho. The first is, just because you thought you were neighbors with the town a few miles away, always keep a watchful eye on them, because those guys can turn out to be big-time dicks and try to kill you.
We're looking at you, Fort Worth.
Yeah, Fort Worth, we're eyeing you. If the world goes mad, I've never liked Fort Worth to begin with, but we're keeping our eye on you. The other thing is,
you got a DUI there. Marcus hates me.
Okay.
Right now. I'm just teasing you, man.
Not something we should say on the air, but okay. It's out there now. But the one thing that the show should definitely talk about is, the major theme is community. I mean, how do you survive as a community with one another? I mean, when the world has gone to shit and it's kill or be killed, as The Walking Dead has shown and stuff. It does change people, and then you start to figure out what really happened that caused it, and who's to blame and that kind of stuff. Now, I can't stand Kansas at all. I would never want to live in Kansas. I don't know. I still don't know why. Why do we
let's see. If we had any listeners in Fort Worth or the state of Kansas, they're gone.
I'm not saying they're bad places. I'm just saying, for me, anyway, I spent a year in Kansas, and I don't even understand the purpose of Kansas. That's how bad it is. I'm like, why does this state exist? Anyway.
That's why the comic had much the same experience when he was there in the Air Force.
Yeah. But anyway.
They sent me to Kansas, a land of dirt.
It's flat.
Birds ended up dying all around you because there was flat and no trees. They had nowhere to land. They just fell out of the sky and died.
On top of that scenery and Dances with Wolves, where he's traveling across the West, the prairie and everything, that scene hasn't changed since the 1860s. I mean, of course, there's a highway, there's like a road, but still. However, I would live in Kansas in the city of Jericho with those people, even the dickheads, okay? Because, this is a community that comes together and learns how to survive when they're starving and whatnot. It didn't hurt that they had secret agents that knew a lot of stuff and all that, but and also, people who had been in the military that when you needed to train warriors, you pull out the Ranger Handbook from the Army and stuff. But no, I mean, from a post-apocalyptic show and stuff, to me, that's still ranks one of the best. And
yeah.
You're dealing with how do you rebuild society? Well, the key to rebuilding society is community. I mean, how you do depend on one another, and you can still survive despite the fact that you disagree and your lifestyle is different and all that, but you're in it all the same. You very much revert back to Jamestown, where everybody has to pitch in to get something out of it. You can't just be lazy and all of that.
Yeah, and it's, you know, and I was very disappointed that it didn't get a third season, because in the second season they opened it up a lot more, and, you know, you saw all the political machinations of the different factions, and, you know, of course, being a couple guys that live in Dallas, it was always fun having Texas being cast in the role of the good guys, but, you know, it was really cool to see all those different machinations coming about and how it affected this one little town, but the events of this one little town also affected the larger, you know, the big picture as a whole. So I thought it was really well done, and I was really sad that it didn't get a third season.
Well, one thing to point out, too, because I guess if you are in a nuclear war, then you probably do want to be in Kansas where there's nothing worth bombing. So, you know, maybe I should.
Yeah, we should rethink that. You know,
I still don't want to live
we're
there.
in a population center here in Dallas, so I mean, I suppose the one good thing is if there's a nuclear war, we'll never know it because we're going to reach 10,000 degrees Fahrenheit in about 0.2 seconds. So, you know, we're not going to feel a thing.
And I'm not dumb enough to crawl into a metal refrigerator because I'm not dumb enough to believe that I'm going to actually survive that.
Yeah, and of course those were 1942 A bombs. Those aren't modern day, you know, hydrogen annihilate the planet bombs.
Well, I still call bullshit on George Lucas
Day.
for that. There's no way that's a plausible storyline. I love Indiana Jones, but still.
Like even if it did shield you from the radiation, just the sheer force of the shockwave and you being rattled around a refrigerator for 4 miles, you're dead. You're dead from multiple cranial fractures, punctured lung, punctured heart. Your whole body is goo.
Right. Yeah.
That's like being in a crash in a Mini, hitting an SUV, and then getting shot up into the air by a C-130 and dropped from 35,000 feet.
So, you know, the physics of being able to survive in that during a nuclear blast, you might have a 50-50 chance, as Lucas explained once in an interview, okay, that it could technically happen. But the one thing that is not, that's pretty much a guarantee, the physics of force is against you. Okay? There is no way that you're surviving that being thrown miles away from the shockwave. Come on.
Yeah, it ain't happening.
No, but again, I mean, you know, I don't want to live in Kansas, but I'll survive in Kansas if there's, you know, nuclear war and all that.
Hey,
also, I'll survive in Kansas during a zombie apocalypse because with everything being so flat, it's easier to see the killers. Or, I mean, you know, see the walkers. So
and you know, you've got a large area between towns so that the infection will spread more slowly.
You know, I'm thinking of a great business idea that Nerd Show can sponsor. Survival houses and bunkers and all that in Kansas. And the tagline should be, "We hope you never have to use these, but please give us money."
we could call it Vault Tech. Oh wait, Bethesda might be pissed at us for that. Fallout 4, anyone? Yeah. Anybody gonna be playing Fallout 4? Get their Vault Techs ready. Anyway. Oh.
You know, there's somebody out there that's listening to us right now that's taking this seriously and taking notes.
Oh, there's somebody out there who already has their vault. You know, come on, there are people out there right now that have their, you know, little airtight underground bunker that has, you know, its stockpile of ammunition and canned goods and portable water for the next 15 years.
Right. Well.
And if you're Christopher Walken, it's filled with Dr. Pepper that you drink hot.
Right. I'd like to make a really funny company T-shirt for Voltec. Anyway, but no, I mean, again, getting back to Jericho, I think it was one of the best. That was well done. No, I mean, the last one to really come about post, other than anything with zombies, was that Revolution that was on TV for a couple of years that just sort of kind of went off the rails, like, we turned the lights out, and society went crazy. Governments went down because there was no electricity. And, of course, which I found that storyline implausible because I'm like, I understand there'd be a little bit of chaos, but we had civilization before there was electricity and people got along. You don't think you
right,
can have a functioning... Yeah.
They didn't even think it through, too, because the first thought that everybody had when as soon as they said, oh, all the lights went out, the electrical grid died, everybody went, yeah, because nobody has solar or wind power or anything. And then they were like, so then they had to like, no, it's really these nanites that suppress electrical fields. And I'm like, all right, that's all well and good, but our bodies are run by electrical fields.
Yeah.
We have electrical charges to where we are basically a living computer. So we have electrical synapses in our brain, so they would kill us too. Oh, but they said, that charge was too low and they were only suppressing things in a certain range. I'm like, really, dude, you've just written yourself too many holes, man. You're just sitting here trying to cover bad
I
writing.
brought that up to
point.
a fan of that show, and that fan had the audacity to tell me, well, no, the electricity in our bodies is a different frequency. No.
Right. No.
I didn't.
No.
I'm not good at science, but even I understand that part. That's not true.
Might be a different amperage or a different wattage.
Right.
But,
I don't think you understand what frequency is.
Yeah. So, it was.
What are we? Yeah.
And that's the other problem I had with that show. It's post-apocalyptic. There hasn't been electricity. There hasn't been a currency. There hasn't been anything in 10 to 15 years. But everybody looks like they've just stepped out of a Gap store or an Abercrombie and Fitch ad. Really?
And let's not forget.
The only guy to be.
Let's not forget your other complaint. The fat guy. The fat guy when there's no running vehicles and why he's still fat.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, he's eating fresh meats, vegetables, and fruits because there is no junk food anymore. And he's working all day long in a community where they have to grow their own food, and he's still fat. I mean,
the other thing too about that show, I don't think the nano bugs or whatever you want to call them, did they block out the sun from solar power or wind? I don't think they took care of that.
But you see, it's not that you couldn't have solar or wind to create the energy. It's just once the energy was created that they would suppress it.
They would suppress it.
The fact that I was even able to say that with a straight face, I'm pretty proud of that.
They could. Yeah, because you know how those evil dictators like to suppress the sun and all of its solar power.
Yeah, well, no, that's just I don't know. No, that show. I tried to give it a shot. I did. Oh, I so wanted it to be good. It just, yeah.
Well,
and I even started watching through the second season too, because the last half of the first season got a little bit better, and the first couple of episodes of the second season were okay, and then it started going right off the rails again, and I was just like, well, they lost me.
Yeah. Well,
to me, one of the best post-apocalyptic stories I've seen in the last 10 years was Naughty Dog's The Last of Us video game. That was phenomenal.
Actually, yeah, wow. I haven't thought about that in a while. Man, good.
Just, the guy trying to get this, he loses his own daughter, and then he tries to get this other young girl across the country to her family, and all of the things that they have to go through to get there. That was a pretty impressive storytelling for me. I really enjoyed playing that game, and I'll probably play it again eventually at some point. So I don't know. I'll eventually get it for the PS4 and play it again, but it was really good.
Fans, 347-989-1732. We'd like to hear from you if you have a post-apocalyptic movie or TV show that we haven't mentioned before. And we've got about 10 minutes left on this show, and a little bit of time before we get to what you should be streaming and other nerd things before we close out our very first 2.0 show. But if you got a suggestion, give us a call. We'd like to hear from you. the other there was a show with Luke Perry, Jeremiah something or other. Now I need to pull up IMDb that I think lasted again a couple of seasons. That was kind of interesting. But the problem with trying to do post-apocalyptic type things is, they're downers. It's unless you can keep some kind of intensity going, or you find a formula where you're not doing 20 episodes. We keep talking about that. You don't have to do so many episodes. You can write.
Yeah, quality over quantity all day.
Right. Jeremiah, that's what it was called. It also had Sean Austin in it and Malcolm Jamal Warner, who played Theo in The Cosby Show. And it was a post-apocalyptic future. A deadly virus wiped out humanity. And the only ones who survived were those who hadn't reached puberty. And it's a decade after everything, and a man called Jeremiah sent on the quest to find a mysterious place, the mysterious place his father spoke of, a place called Valhalla. Well, there you go again. We bring Valhalla back. I like the idea of post-apocalyptic type stuff because, again, there's a lot of great potential for stories. Okay, and I think, but you're always going to center around a couple of different themes. People revert back to their most animalistic nature, and Darwinism wins out, and it's kill or be killed. And the only way that you can truly survive is through a community. It's about how you come together. Well, I mean, one of the great books in the last 50 years that talks about bringing everybody back together, after something, The Stand by Stephen King. And they had a great miniseries about 20 years ago with Gary Sinise and Molly Ringwald and Rob Lowe on it. And, for the time, it was very well done. And, of course, you got to deal with biblical things with, the devil and whatnot. And but that whole thing was, again, about people coming together and, learning how to survive with one another and defeat evil forces. So, I mean, there's pretty much two guaranteed things that you're going to have to do. You're going to have to get a group of people that you can depend on, that you can trust with your life, because, you're big, you're stronger in numbers, and basically not trust anybody else because they're probably trying to kill you. Those are the two basic elements.
Yeah, pretty much. So. Yeah.
Jeremiah wasn't really a bad show. I mean, it had a good concept, but it only, again, lasted a couple of seasons before it was canceled. So it would be an interesting one to go back and take a look at. Okay, we do have time to take one more call if you want to call in. Again, 347-989-1732, and tell us your favorite post-apocalyptic story or movie and whatnot. Speaking of stuff, does what's the one where Deep something or other, where Morgan Freeman's the president and a meteor is going to hit? It's the other one besides Armageddon.
Oh, Deep Impact.
Deep Impact. Does that kind of count, or is that basically before Apocalypse?
That's before. That's pre-apocalypse. That's impending apocalypse.
Impending apocalypse. There's a genre for you. Impending apocalypse. So, okay. So speaking of getting back to what you should be streaming, probably for all you, the big one that came out this week for all you Netflix fans is the third season of Orange is the New Black. They actually released it a day early, and so it released a few days ago, and I think everybody should, if you started it then, you should pretty much be done with it. I do personally watch this show. I like the original programming on Netflix. I don't know if you've gotten into Orange is the New Black, Brendan. Have you?
No, I haven't. No.
Yeah. But after 3 seasons, I've come to a couple of realizations about this show. First, it is a good show. Second, Taylor Schilling, you might be the nicest woman out there, and I love your story about how you became an actress, and you from bit parts, and you kind of become famous and have found your own. You are annoying in that show. That show, she should not be the major character in that show, not at all. Okay, I really know I understand it's about this real life person named Piper who goes to prison for smuggling drugs with her lesbian girlfriend 10 years before, and blah blah blah. And you might be interesting in real life, but the character in this show is annoying, not interesting at all. It's everybody else that makes this show, and especially Kate Mulgrew, who plays the Russian, who, after 3 seasons, you start to learn a little bit about why these characters ended up in prison. And, but Kate Mulgrew is pretty much good in anything she does, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but her playing, running the kitchen, basically, being put in prison because she worked for the Russian mob and stuff like that. It's all the other characters are more interesting, and that's what makes that show good. Season 3, I don't think was necessarily the best, but it does deal with some very serious issues about what you get when you have corporations who buy prisons and try to make it a for-profit prison and basically don't give a shit about humanity. But anyway, that dropped this week, and still going pretty good. So, what's something you've seen here lately that people should be streaming and checking out, Brendan, or over the last couple of weeks?
Well, that's a damn good call. What have I been watching over the last few weeks? Have been kind of a whirlwind for me just because of new job and all that stuff. So I haven't really watched much. But let's see. What have I been? Let me go through my history and see what I have been watching.
Well, I'll let you check it out, and I'll.
Well,
go ahead.
Yeah. I would say what I've been watching right now, actually what I just finished streaming because I wanted to get caught up for this season, was The Last Ship. And I was hesitant to watch it at all because I am a Navy guy, and most of the time they just screw shit up, and it irks me. And I know it shouldn't, suspension of disbelief. I preach it all the time. I should practice what I preach. I get it. But it still does. So I decided to just say to hell with it and kind of put it on the back burner and just watch it. And I was actually, speaking of, and this fits into post-apocalyptic shows too, is The Last Ship. And it was pretty good. I really enjoyed it. Rona Mitra was pretty good. Adam Baldwin was really good. So, I think I'll continue watching it into season 2, which I believe starts tonight. And then the other thing I want to check out is Sense8 by the Wachowski brothers and J. Michael Straczynski, who wrote Babylon 5. I haven't got a chance to watch it yet, but I'm going to be checking it out on Netflix.
Well, I have been watching it a little bit, and I can definitely recommend it. It's very interesting, great concept. You do have to kind of get into it and stick with it and stuff, but definitely a good show, and I hope it gets a second season. They're able to do a lot more with it. I discovered a movie that I vaguely remember hearing about last year, and I cannot remember why we did not review it. I think it was just one of those movies that got lost in the shuffle.
Sure.
And that's why we have the What You Should Be Streaming section, because we usually rediscover these movies. Simon Pegg, not in his usual format of doing stuff, with Edgar Wright and Nick Frost, but Hector and the Search for Happiness. And Rosamund Pike plays his girlfriend, and he's a psychiatrist who basically goes on the search for happiness throughout the world. And it's one of those kind of feel good, movies that's just, it's funny, typical British humor. Everybody was great in it, and I absolutely recommend it to somebody. Stellan Skarsgård, the businessman who only cares about money, he was really funny in it. I mean, it's just, check it out. It's worth an hour and 45 minutes of your time to watch this, and it will make you feel good. So, All right, we got about a minute left on our first show here, so we're going to wrap things up. We will be back next Sunday talking a little bit more about E3 and other things that are going on. But, again, we want to hear from you. So send us an email at news@thatnerdshow.com or hit us up on Twitter @thatnerdshow, Twitter @thatnerdshow, or you can follow us on Facebook or message us from there, facebook.com/thatnerdshow. We love to hear from our fans. But we will continue to let you know about cosplayers, nerd projects that are going on, and we'll be bringing you a lot more with That Nerd Show 2.0. So stay tuned every Sunday from 5 to 7 p.m. and keep with news on our website. And I do want to say this to all the nerds out there. Stay nerdy. You don't have anything to be ashamed of, because being a nerd is cool, and we prove that it is. Keep listening to our show, because it's the greatest nerd show in this universe, and you can't prove it's not. All right, everybody, we are out of here.
Bye-bye.